This man is a very active member of the Johns Creek Baptist Church, where he served as vice chairman of the Board of Deacons. He's a member of the Stewardship Committee, a preschool leader, and on the Ushers Committee. And you know, I got to thinking, most auctioneers that I've ever heard of are all on the Ushers Committee. And I think that's because they like to have control of that crowd and taking up that offering. I don't know whether it's true or not, but somebody told me that the member of that church, that one day he was taking up the offering and he started to pass the plate down the aisle and somebody put in a $5 bill. And he leaned down to him, Paul, and says, "Would you give just a little bit more? If you give just a little bit more, I promise you I'll never ask you again." Now, that doesn't sound like an auctioneer or a ring man. I don't know whether it's true or not, but that's what I heard. A very devoted family man. He's been married to his wife, Linda, for 48 years. They have 2 children, a son, Drew, who works by his side as his lead auctioneer for the company, Drew's wife, Stephanie, who works with them in the business, and their 2 sons, Austin and Brody, are here tonight. He has a daughter, Courtney, and her husband, Jay Wagner, who was previously with the company. They have 3 children, Graylin, Walker, and Mary Briggs. Now, Linda may not work in the office and be a part of that daily scene, but I assure you that she is an important part of the team, because you see, the first thing our recipient does when an auction sale is over is call his wife and tell her what happened at the sale. And she always assures him that she's been praying for the success of that sale, not just for him or the sales manager, but for the client as well. And as all of us in the auction business know, we need those kind of prayers. When the Hall of Fame committee considers someone for induction, someone usually says, "Well, I know that that person is a good person, a good man, a good woman, but what have they done for the auction profession?" Well, I assure you that our inductee tonight carries the auction banner high and boldly for the entire auction profession. And you can see by his involvement and his dedication to this association that it is at the forefront of his life's work. You know, this is pretty much the same presentation I made about our recipient about 10 years ago when I had the honor to induct him into his State Association Hall of Fame. But tonight there's a postscript to that presentation. It is this: those of you who know me know that for over 40 years I worked for a man who was like a father to me. And nowhere in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would leave that company. But times change. Sometimes you do what you think is best. And this man, this recipient that we are having and honoring tonight, gave a senior auctioneer the opportunity to remain in the auction business. Again, notice I said a senior auctioneer, not an old auctioneer. And for this, I will ever be grateful. Because you see, I love working for this man. I'm proud to work for his son, and I'm honored to be associated with his entire staff. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, the newest member to the National Auctioneers Hall of Fame from the great state of Georgia, John Dixon. Linda, Linda's going to be placing the pin on him, and I'll read his plaque as well. Presented to John Dixon, CAI, Marietta, Georgia, in recognition and appreciation of his outstanding contribution to the profession of auctioneers and the National Auctioneers Association as a 2013 Hall of Fame Award recipient.
You know, Joe said that it was a privilege of his to come to work with me. I've never had a better privilege for anybody to come with me than Joe Tarpley. And believe me, all of you here know that. Joe worked for perhaps the greatest auction person that I've ever known, and many of you, and it is a sincere pleasure to have him with me. I'm going to try to introduce everybody up here. I do know them, that's not the problem. The problem is, and some of you might have heard me say this before, I get emotional at a Lassie rerun. So, I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate this honor. It is a great honor, more than I could possibly express. I knew when Linda told me, when we got ready to leave, I used to wear a tie every day. I mean, for 25 years I did, but now that I don't anymore, Drew and KJ have taken over some of the responsibilities. I'm not there all day. Normally not every day. When I'm there, I'm not there all day. I don't wear ties, so I'm getting ready to leave without a tie. She said, don't you think y'all put a tie on? That should have been and she had stuck one in my suitcase. That should have been a clue to me. And I said, why is that? She said, well, everybody there will have on a tie. And then they got here and they just about did. So that didn't get in the way. But I do appreciate it. I appreciate Joe and I appreciate all my folks. I've got two of my grandchildren here. I've got Austin, my oldest grandchild. I've got Brody, who is my youngest grandson. I've got one granddaughter that's a little younger, and another granddaughter at home, and another grandson at home, and a daughter and a son-in-law. Let me try to introduce these folks. My wife, Linda. Drew is my lead auctioneer. He's also responsible for all auction operations. Austin, I mentioned. Stephanie works with us. She's responsible for all of our online and our internet advertising. KJ is she's our director of finance and administration, and Franklin runs the company. And Drew runs the auction. Buddy Lee is, I think I heard him say he's 32 years old. I've never seen anybody that could write as much business as he can. I'm very fortunate to have him. He is not allowed to talk to anybody else while he's here except me, but Buddy is the best out. He's been with me 6 years too, so he came when he was 26, but he kind of grew up in the auction business. But Bud is our business development hero. Yeah. And John Gross, now, if I'd seen him, I would have known something was up. John Gross came with me. He met with me. I called John Gross. He was with a number of, he's an institution in Georgia as an auctioneer. He really is. And a number of, he used to be active in the NAA. He hasn't been lately, but he's really an institution as an auctioneer back home. John, I met with him probably the day I went in business. Said, John, can you help me? He said, well, I'll think about it. And he did help me some. It wasn't that much to do. But 2 years later, I think about 2 years later, John, he's been with me since, does a great job. And Drew will tell you that if he has any success and any talent as an auctioneer, an awful lot of it came from John Gross. Bud Lawler's here. Bud, you slipped in. Bud Lawler joined me about 5, 6 years ago. And Bud was one of the best clients I had. He was with Wachovia Bank for over 30 years as a trust officer. Retired from the bank, came with me 5, 6 years ago, and has done a phenomenal job. One of the best estate people that I know. And Mike Lofton, most of you here know Mike Lofton. Mike has been in the auction business for probably, he looks a lot older, but he's probably been in the auction business about as long as I have. I think Mike told me the other day he's been in the auction business since 1972. Is that 73? 73, and I've been in since 76. But Mike joined me earlier this year, January of this year, and doing a phenomenal job. And with talent like these folks here, It's just any success that I had, I owe it to them and the other folks back home, and to a lot of you out there that I've been able to seek counsel from. But I can't thank you enough, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Congratulations, Mr. Dixon. Thank you very much. Now to introduce our 140th inductee into the National Auctioneers Hall of Fame. Please make welcome Mr. Marty Higginbotham.
Thank you, Spanky. Congratulations to the new inductees. Welcome, everybody. It's good to be here. The Empire State Building is 1,250 feet high. Now, there's a reason I tell you that. Number one, you didn't know. Number two, I thought you should know. And number three, Spanky took you all the way back to the Civil War, and the least I could do is take you to the Empire State Building. Now, I'm going to have some fun here tonight, introducing a young man that has been an incredible inspiration to all of us. Like many auctioneers, he got into auction business before he got out of high school, because his family was in it as well. So, if you're in an auction family, you don't get much of a choice. You get to carry the boxes. You been there? Done that? All right, me too. I know how it works. You know, as a teenager and in high school, he really thought, well, maybe this auction business isn't for me. Got into band, played band instruments. Was a tremendous athlete. He did everything. Played football, run track, run cross country, played basketball. All-around guy, just an all-around guy. A real determined individual. And then his family said, you know, son, maybe you ought to go to auction school. That's what you need to do. So, sure enough, he packed up, the way he went. Came back home after auction school, went off to college, came home one day, one Saturday, and he had some additional hair that he didn't have when he left home. His dad took one look at him and said, son, there ain't no hippies gonna work here. Cut her off. And he did. And then he went back to college, and he met this young lady. Kind of fond of her, in fact. So he asked his dad, he said, Dad, he said, I gotta know something. He said, I know you met Mom, and y'all have had a great marriage, and I'd just like to know something. Tell me how you determine who actually wears the pants in the family. And his dad said, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do, son. Saturday morning, we're going to hitch these two horses to a buggy. This is a gray horse and a black horse. And we're going to send you down the road. Now, I got the back end of this thing full of chickens. And I want you to go up to the door. And when the guy comes to the door, said, I want you to ask him, are you the boss in the family? Or is your wife the boss in the family? Now, if he says he's the boss in the family, if she says he's the boss in the family, give him a chicken. Well, this goes on all afternoon. And all he's got rid of is chickens. He's still got the horse. Because his dad had told him, look, if the guy is actually the boss in the family, say, give him a horse. If he's not, just give him that chicken. Give him that chicken. So he gets to the last house. He ain't got far to go. Knocks on the door. He's got rid of all his chickens. Knocks on the door. He asked the old boy to come to the door. He said, let me ask you something. Are you the boss of the family or is your wife the boss of the family? He said, well, I'm the boss of the family. He said, all right, you get the gray horse. About that time, his wife poked her head out the door. She says, I want the black horse. He said, you get the chicken, buddy. That's it. Okay. So he's a decision maker. He has been everything imaginable in the auction industry. He got excited about going to auction in the various associations. Past president of his state association. He was a charter member in the CAI, along with me as well. He left his family business after a while, thinking maybe he should just go into manufacturing or some other big company. And he did. Was very successful at that. But all the time, he was going back home and dealing with the auction business. Very involved in his community. Minister of youth. Still does it. Still teaches Sunday school to this day. Got very involved in state government. Turned out he's a representative. Spent a lot of time in his state as a representative. But he said, well, that wasn't quite strong enough. So he ran for Senate. And he won. And today, he's still serving as a senator in his state. He just celebrated 44 years of marriage to his college sweetheart. He has 4 sons. And he has more distinguished accolades than anybody I've ever seen. Now, the reason I told you about the Empire State Building, if I was to write all the accolades and all the accomplishments that this guy's done on 2x4s and stood them on end to end, they'd go over the entire state building and halfway down the other side. And that's the reason you had to hear about that. But he's an incredible, incredible inspiration. He's past president of this national association. He, again, serves as state senator in this great state of Indiana. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you your next nominee, Mr. Dennis Root. While Kay has been in his Hall of Fame pin on, by the way, these Hall of Fame pins were made large enough that you can see them. Let me read his plaque. Dennis K. Cruz, Auburn, Indiana, in recognition and appreciation of his outstanding contribution to the profession of auctioneering and the National Auctioneers Association at the 2013 Hall of Fame Award, a 2000 Hall of Fame Award recipient. Dennis?
did not anticipate this would have ever happened in my life. And first of all, I want to thank God and allowing Him to bless me in many ways in my life. And one of the finest ways is to have my wife of 44 years, Kay, with me. She's been an outstanding wife and has stood by me through thick and thin. When I've done things that aren't the best and when I've done things that are good, she's stayed with me. And God blessed us with 4 sons, and all 4 sons are here tonight, which I did not know. I'm surprised that they're all here. And they're each married now. 2 of them got married last year, and I've told several of you this week. I have 3 sons who don't have any children at this point in time. And we have been blessed now that we have 3 grandchildren on the way that will be born before the end of the year. So I have my oldest son, Matthew. All 4 of my sons are auctioneers and real estate brokers and appraisers and in business. And Matthew has his wife, Michelle, here, and my 3 grandsons. We have Caleb, Michael, and Jackson. My 3 grandsons that I have now. We're going to add 3 more here. So next we have John, my 2nd son, and his wife Abby, and she's pregnant. They've been married 10 years and having their first child now. It was very nice. I appreciate that. And then I have my 3rd son Tim and his wife Mary Beth, and they got married in December 22nd, and they're expecting, I think December the 19th, I believe, is about the expectation date for them, for their first child. And then my youngest son Daniel and his wife Beth, and she is expecting October the 15th, and Abby, I think, is expecting about October the 29th. Really? So we'll have 3 more grandkids. One of the, I guess, sorrows I have is my dad couldn't be here. He was a great teacher and an inspiration to me as his son and my brothers who are auctioneers as well. And if it wasn't for him, we would not have ever been able to accomplish things that we did in the auction business over the years, because he was always pushing us, and he was never satisfied, and you always could do better. You always could push on. You can be the leader. You do this and you do that. And he was a great encouragement and a great teacher with details and making sure you did everything. And it's like Marty was saying, I did everything there was when I was a little boy, helping my dad and carrying furniture out, lining things up, and carrying clerk tickets and doing all those things that a lot of you have done over the years. And I just experienced, a wonderful life. And I appreciate this honor very much here tonight. And it means a lot to me. And I thank you for being a part of my family too. I appreciate serving you over the years, and just thank you very much for this honor tonight.
Thank you so very much for allowing all of us to induct these 3 new. Congratulations to Tommy, to John, and to Dennis. If you would like to congratulate them, we'd like to invite you to a reception right out in the foyer for not only our Hall of Fame inductees, but also for our new president. Mr. President, it's all yours.
Thank you, Spanky. That was my line. Hey, did you enjoy the Hall of Fame awards tonight, ladies and gentlemen? 3 great auctioneers, great investors from the NAA. Spanky just talked about it. Hannah's is across the hall. It's right outside. There's desserts, there's coffee, there's fun and fellowship. So, ladies and gentlemen, this evening is concluded.